Namaste and welcome back to Ramakathasudha. As the great war of the Ramayana reaches its climax, our attention is naturally on the great kings and warriors. But today, we step away from the battlefield and into the quiet, grieving hearts of two queens, two women in two palaces, separated by a war, yet united by a singular, sacred identity, that of a mother. We will explore the tragic and profound parallel between Rama's mother Kausalya and Ravana's chief queen Mandodari. Their stories reveal the shared helplessness, the divergent destinies, and the universal sorrow of motherhood in a world governed by the choices of men. The first thread that ties these two queens together is a cruel one. Both gave birth to and raised extraordinary sons, but the destinies of those sons were ultimately hijacked by the actions of their fathers. Kausalya raised the perfect son Rama, the embodiment of Dharma, yet she had to watch his life be upended not by his own actions, but by his father Dasharatha's old binding promise to another wife. Rama's path to exile was paved by his father's past. Mandodari, a wise and righteous queen, raised the powerful warrior Indrajit. His path to a violent death was paved by his father Ravana's present sin, the abduction of Sita. Both mothers were queens yet powerless. They could only watch as their sons were forced onto paths of suffering, not by their own choosing, but by the weight of their father's karma and commitments. This powerlessness leads to a profound shared helplessness, but their grief manifested differently. Kausalya's agony was watching her perfectly righteous son be sent into a 14-year exile for no fault of his own. Her sorrow was that of unjust separation. She pleaded, she wept, but she could not stop the wheels of Dharma, which her own son chose to uphold. Her helplessness was in watching goodness suffer. Mandodari's agony was arguably even more complex. She had to watch her son Meghanada march into a war she knew was fundamentally unjust. She was the voice of reason in Ravana's court, constantly pleading with her husband to return Sita and avert disaster. Her helplessness was in watching her family choose the path of adharma. She grieved not just for the impending death of her son, but for the moral ruin of her entire house. Kausalya saw her son leave to uphold dharma. Mandodari saw her son leave to defend adharma. And this is where their parallel path tragically diverged. The outcome of their suffering could not be more different. Kausalya's 14 years of grief were a form of tapasya and long and painful austerity. But it was an investment that yielded a glorious return. Her son Rama comes back triumphant. He is crowned king. Dharma is established. Her suffering is validated and transformed into the joy of Ramarajya. Her story ends in light. Mandodari's grief becomes absolute. It is a bottomless abyss. She loses her valiant son. She loses her powerful husband. She loses her golden kingdom. And the most bitter part of her tragedy is that she knew it was all for nothing. Her grief is not redeemed. It is compounded by the knowledge that her entire world has destroyed for a cause she knew was wrong from the very beginning. Her story ends in darkness and ruin. This tragic comparison forces us to ask, what does it mean to be a good mother in an epic context? Is it Kausalya who raised their son so perfectly aligned with Dharma that he became God on earth? Her success is in the righteous outcome of her son. Or is it Mandodari who, despite knowing her family was on the wrong path, never stopped loving them, never stopped advising them, and ultimately stood by them in their self-inflicted doom? Her success, if we can call it that, is in the unwavering integrity of her own love and counsel, even in the face of inevitable destruction. The epics don't give an easy answer, they simply present these two powerful portraits of motherhood, showing us that a mother's love and a mother's sorrow are profound forces, whether they are in the service of dharma or tied by fate to adharma. Kausalya and Mandodari are two worms of destiny, one birthing a savior and the other birthing a soldier for a lost cause. Their stories are timeless testament to the silent, often tragic role of women in the great sagas of men. Thank you for joining me in honoring them. If the story of two mothers has touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Ramakathasudha. Jai Shri Ram, Loga Samasta Sugino Bhavantu.